Jorge Joestar. Chapter 6. The Island. Chaos reigned. The electric and phone lines had been severed, so there was no TV to watch, and the landlines were useless, but our cell phones were still working. Probably not for much longer though. Morioh was heading out onto the ocean, heading south from Japan at the insane speed of 100 knots, much faster than most ships could manage. We'd be out of our provider's coverage area in no time. I first used mine to check the news. The anchor said the SDF had scrambled planes to follow Morioh. I looked up just in time to see 6 of them rocketing towards us. 2 were larger transport planes, but 4 of them were clearly fighters. Guarding the transport planes? I suppose they'd scramble fighter planes either way, I thought. Then the lead F-22 exploded. We cried out and watched as the fire spread out flat, like it was exploding against an invisible dome ceiling. Which I guess it was. There was a dome up there. The burning plane slid up along the dome, moving southwest, then slowed. For a second it stopped right above us, then began sliding down to the southeast, bits of it spiralling off to either side. The trail of it made the shape of the dome clear. The other 5 planes managed to pull up in time and avoided crashing into the dome. The burning plane hit the water with a splash, but that was soon swallowed in the wake left by the great ship Morioh as it sailed across the water. The wake churned outside the walls of the dome. Did it wrap all the way around underneath? "Is this a stand?" I asked Rohan. "I don't know. I've never seen or heard of a stand this large. The whole town's an island. Stands, you see, belong to a person. They're a person's individual power. There's a limit to what even the best of us can accomplish. We all have our limits. Right? Or is my faith in limits betraying my own mediocrity? Damn it! I've never been this shocked in all my life. Is this really what mankind is capable of?" Rohan's answer had drifted into a thought, which had turned into a sort of speech directed at himself, which was alarming. As an artist, I could see my mediocrity would be Rohan's greatest fear, and why he'd want to deny that humans have limits. But this didn't seem to be an idea worth this level of conniptions. We still didn't know what was actually happening. Perhaps stand masters knew less about their own powers than they believed, or perhaps they were too ready to assume anything unusual was the result of a stand. "Perhaps this is more than a stand," Rohan said. "If so, let us call it beyond." Sorry," I said. "That name's already taken." "What?" "It is." Authors were frightening. Such synchronicity. Then I had an idea, and asked Rohan about Sukumajuku. If he found someone dead in his house, he must have read them with Heaven's Door. Sukumajuku? Of course I took a look, but there was nothing to learn. Once someone dies, their book becomes the kanji for death, repeated to infinity. Behind him, Nijimura Morioh Taisu started shouting. "Ah, what the hell are they doing? Jesus!" I followed his gaze, looking up, and saw one of the fighter planes coming back, and firing a missile parallel to the Earth's surface. But the missile exploded in mid-air, the fire and shrapnel spreading out, flat on one side. Like the plane before it, the missile had hit the side of the dome. They'd simply been verifying the existence of it. If the dome hadn't been there, the missile would have passed harmlessly through the air over Morioh. The plane that had fired the missile pulled up sharply, avoided the dome, and flew away. "Are we protected then?" Morioh Taisu said. "Who knows?" Rohan said. "But I don't think this dome is entirely beneficial to us. Look over there." He pointed down the hill to Morioh Harbour. A chunk of the bay was being moved with the town itself as part of the ship. A great number of boats had set off from the harbour, headed for the edge of the ship. "They're about to find that out," Rohan added. Rohan was right. We all were. Not one of the boats was able to pierce the dome. They'd all had the sense to slow down as they approached the edge, and avoided significant damage to their vessels, for we could see the fisherman clustered at the prow, poking the dome with harpoons. It made the line of the dome very clear. The wakes of the ships crashed against the curve of the dome, a gentle circle encircling the bay. "A circle, Rohan, do you have a map of Morioh?" "A map? Of course not. But I could draw you one." "Eh?" Rohan pulled out a notepad and pen out of his pocket, and I watched as he went shh, drawing a very accurate-looking map. I suppose I'd no reason to object. "You still don't trust my power, do you?" Rohan said. "I only need to see a thing one time to produce a detailed sketch from memory. I promise this is accurate." I took the map had Heroes fly up and verified the line of the dome in the bay from above, did a little calculating, and soon knew the shape of the ship. The edge was a perfect circle in the water, but followed the winding boundary lines of the town on land. It struck me I'd seen the shape before. It wasn't quite right, but I recognised it. From where? I couldn't remember. I racked my brain, but nothing came out, so I went back to my original reasons for making the map. I had a theory. Since the dome formed a circle in the harbour, the circle was centred on something. If this ship was really the work of an individual... "We have to go here," Rohan said, pointing at the circle. "If this power's centred here, whoever's moving Morioh will be there as well." "What's located there?" That's our school, Budogaoka Academy," said Nijimura. "Fukushigi." "What? He wasn't underground anymore." "Oh, you're okay," Morioh Taisu cried. Behind Fukushigi I saw Sugimoto Reimi and a disgruntled-looking Rohan Kashibi. Right, there were two Rohans. I turned, but the one next to me had vanished. The ghost was flesh again. "Kira Yoshikage has cancelled Killer Queen's Bites the Dust effect," Sugimoto Reimi explained. We could finally say the name aloud. "He must have realised the trap he'd sprung on Rohan would be enough to eliminate his enemies, which means he's preparing to fight us head-on." "Why this timing? Unless... is Kira Yoshikage the one moving Morioh?" Rohan asked. Hard to see it any other way. Rohan, all these detectives have been calling you today, right?" "Yes, I got fed up and stopped answering the phone." "Look what's on TV." Remy held out a cell phone, where a group of detectives were holding an emergency press conference. She'd found a live stream of it. A row of detectives stood behind a long table with a white cloth, and a number of microphones. The blonde man in the centre was holding a mic, and speaking rapidly. "We have little time, so let's get right down to it. First, some introductions. Including myself, the 13 individuals gathered here at all known detectives. Each has investigated and solved a number of cases, whether police or civil. Some of them I'm sure you know, but I'll take the liberty of giving their names anyway. My name is Barya Chimaru. From the right, we have Dezumi Style, Yugari Bobohiko, Chokuji Kenraku, Chokuji Kiyu, Judy Dollhouse, Mame Gen, Mikami Nils, Barame Zero, Suki Shimoni Now, Hidzuki, Kakichu Mama Jump, and Fuyuname Satoru. Couldn't make them any harder to say, could you? For the moment, that's all of us. I say for the moment because it seems likely more detectives will join the effort to solve the case in Morioh. The case I'm referring to concerns the murders of 3 detectives, Hakuku Sachiari, Neko Neko Nyan Nyan Nyan, and Keito Sukumajuku. Hakuku and Neko Neko are known to be detectives, and it seems likely Keito was as well. If 3 detectives have been murdered in a single day, it seems clear this is an act that flies in the face of justice, of our efforts to unearth the truth and force criminals into the open. I'd even go so far as to call it an act of terrorism against the detective profession. We are here to announce no true detective would ever be swayed by such cowardly violence. This case will be solved. But Morioh has broken off from Japan and is speeding out into the ocean, propelled by some mysterious power, and even the SDF are unable to approach it. Morioh's become an island, and the killer's trapped on it. We believe this broadcast will reach Morioh, and we offer first our prayers for the safety of its citizen. We are sure the mayor of Morioh, Shishimura Denta, is acting swiftly in the interests of public safety and civil order. And there's one other individual I'd like to carefully address. Barya Chimaru paused dramatically. I'd seen him on TV a number of times. He was the detective and an Italian chef. I gulped. Kira Yoshikage. The detectives here know you were not the one who killed Hakyoku, Neko Neko, or Kaito. We know those 3 were killed specifically to draw the attention of other detectives. Their deaths were bait. The real killer deliberately killed them to put you in a corner and to make you suffer. So please calm yourself, Kira Yoshikage. At this time, we are not looking for you, but for the one who killed these detectives. If you can provide any assistance, our investigation will be over faster, and you'll be able to demonstrate you can be cooperative. We promise no ill will befall you. We promise we will not attempt to find you as long as the detective killer is at large. So please, calm down. Wow. I said, before I could stop myself. How did these other detectives know that name? If they had been drawn to this case by the murders of the detectives, they shouldn't have heard anything about Morioh Shikage. I knew they hadn't been involved in the 15 locked room mysteries, but had they all come across his name while investigating unrelated cases of their own? Received the challenge the same way I had, telling them he'd kill them if they came near Morioh? I was pretty impressed they'd managed to work out he was probably moving Morioh without even coming here. They must already know stands existed, and know what they were capable of. If they didn't, they would have assumed someone had made the giant engine and fuel tank underneath the town, turning it into a giant ship. Whether that was possible was highly unlikely, but they would have started with physical theories, ignoring the possibility of superpowers entirely. But without coming here, Barrier Chomaru had known the truth. I wondered if he had friends who had come here. I was here, moving alone or in small groups. It was very likely other detectives had reached Morioh before the dome cut it off from the outside world. Barrier Chomaru had been able to put together a press conference with 13 detectives on such short notice, because those detectives had all been in contact with each other. I'd always operated independently, and never had any contact with other detectives, but there were of course people who had no problem working in groups like that. So if they had friends in town, where were they? Not that I wanted to join up with them immediately, but it seemed sensible to be aware of their location. I remembered what Tsukumajuku had said. If several detectives are on the case, and one solves the case before the other does, is the slower one still a detective? Having that irritating question nagging at my backside the whole time would be a real pain. I'd have to find the other detectives, and keep my distance from them so we could avoid bumping into each other. So I wondered, the person who'd be bringing all these detectives here, and threatening Morioh Shikage, what did that person make of this place abruptly fleeing Japan? Could this have been the expected reaction? The more I thought about it, the more that seemed possible. If the possession of detectives tormented the explosion killer, if their arrival wounded him. I remembered what Tsukumajuku had said. I've begun to believe that continual repetitive suffering can lead to the development of unusual powers that help the sufferer escape. Apparently everyone had only one stand, but that didn't prevent someone from developing a new power. This thought led me to finally understand why Barrier Chomaru had addressed Kira directly. He knew if he could ease that pain even a little, if he could make the presence of these detectives no longer hurt him, the power driving Morioh might disappear. He must have detectives posted here working on the case. Can you believe this? Fukushigi said. I followed the Nijimura brothers' gaze again, and looked up. An SDF helicopter had flown up the invisible dome, and soldiers were rappelling down to the surface of it. It was terrifying to watch. I don't know. Should I go help? Hiro said, putting Blue Thunder on his head again. Nah, the Nijimura said. If some kid comes flying up to them, they'll just lose their shit. Let them be. They're grown men. They know what they're doing. I guess. We ought to head to school. It's a dude moving the towns there, and it's Kira. We can finally catch him. But it's a weekday. Summer vacation starts tomorrow. I mean, there'll be students everywhere. None of the students or teachers are named Morioh Shikage. Kira's scared shitless with all these detectives here. We just find the guy who looks scared. But he's been murdering people here for ages without getting caught. I don't think he'll be that easy. Hiro's definitely had a point, I thought, and it reminded me of a question I'd been meaning to ask. It might be a little late, but how do you all know Kira's name without ever capturing him? I just got here. I couldn't actually say his name aloud, so I never got a chance. But how do you know his name? Or that he even exists? Hiro's answered. Morioh Shikage. Well, it seems like he had a thing for women's beautiful hands. We had a friend named Yangu Shigechi. His stand stray dog could control all the stray dogs in town. One day, one of his dogs came back carrying a hand in his mouth. One of the hands Morioh Shikage had been toying with. The nail polish on the woman's hand was unusual enough. We were able to figure out where it was sold, and that had been purchased by a man, which was unusual enough that we learned his name. We almost caught him once, but the first of us to reach him was me, and he was sure he could kill me and escape, so he took the time to explain his stand name and power. I nearly did die, but the Nijimuras caught up just in time and turned the tables on him. Just as we almost had him, he slipped away. He forced another friend of ours, Sujiaya, to use her power. Her stand, face off. Got to take his face. Could switch the faces and fingerprints of any two people. So Kira grabbed a random passerby with a similar build and had her switch their appearances. He stole everything that could identify him. We got there just in time to see the other man in Sugiyaya explode. He killed Shigechi too, as a warning. So as much as we want to make our town safe again, we also want revenge. Yeah, we're doing this for Shigechi and Sugiyaya. If we stop shooting our mouths off and do something, he'll have to take action. Time to shut up and put up. We gotta go if we want to get anywhere, Fukushigi roared, and it was suddenly flung 5 meters away. Surprised, I looked around. It wasn't an enemy that had hit him, but the corner of the cross house. It spun to the left. If the compass had turned, the island must have changed direction. I looked up. The soldier hanging from the helicopter had lost his balance, or the island's change in direction had changed the winds over the dome and forced the helicopter off course. Either way, the line was cut, and the soldier was sliding along the dome. Morioh Taisu was focused on his brother, but Hirose had looked up too, and saw what was happening. Crap! He said, revved Blue Thunder and shot into the air. I grabbed Morioh Taisu and pointed. I'll help your brother. You help him up there. Jesus, he said, looking up finally. Gotcha. Cool. He hopped aboard one of his flying dolphins and flew away, and I ran down the slope. You okay? Rohan called, coming after me. Fukushigi sat up, pushing the bushes out of his way, and muttered, This house has it in for me. He was unharmed, but not because he was tough. He'd used his stand to protect himself. It was sitting underneath him. NYPD Blue was an odd-looking stand, a chubby, bald, middle-aged man in a suit. Get your fat ass off of me, goddammit! He snarled. I jumped, taken aback, but Fukushigi was used to it. Yeah, he said, getting to his feet. You're useless otherwise. Least you could do is protect me. Shut your cornhole, cocksucker! You watch your fucking mouth or I'll rip your goddamn head off. Wow, this thing is a foul mouth. But Fukushigi just laughed him off. I guess it was none of my business, but then he turned and glared at me. Who do you think you're staring at? I quickly looked away. Jesus. Sorry, man. He's pretty much always in a bad mood. He thinks he's a New York cop. He's convinced I brought him back from America with me. That's funny to you, is it, scumbag? NYPD Blue yelled. I jumped again, the smile wiped off my face. Then Hirose and Morioh Taisu came back. This is bad. Listen up, Hirose said, flustered. We couldn't break the barrier or help at all, but he gave us a message for the town's leader. Top secret. He said to tell nobody else. Apparently there's some bad people here. So, what was the message? Fukushigi asked. He said if nothing changes, the American army will flip the island. What? I thought they were our allies. Not every day a long coat-wearing delinquent discusses international diplomacy, but he had a point. Back up a minute. Why should we believe that? I said, almost to myself. But Hirose heard me. Because of who gave me that message. Look at this, he said, holding out his cell phone. He'd taken a picture of a soldier holding up a note, saying, If nothing changes, the American army will flip this island, written in Japanese by a hand clearly not used to the characters. But the soldier in question was much older than I'd expected, and I'd recognised those blonde curls. That's exactly the former President of the United States, Funny Valentine.